Mm. Good. Thank you, Miranda, for providing the email address. It's WIE@boisestate.edu. And even though we are called Women in Entrepreneurship, that's the official name of the program, we do, as we say, accept all gender identities. So everyone who's interested in entrepreneurship is more than welcome. We have a series of 5 webinars. This is the second in the series. In the spring, we're planning on showing a movie that is focused on following 5 women who are entrepreneurs and following their cycle through thinking of their business to actually getting the doors open and having customers. So very interesting. We're looking forward to being able to screen that movie. And we'll also be able to talk with the director about how she developed the movie and came up with the idea and what her experience was as she followed the entrepreneurs. It's 12:06. Well, where are our speakers? So while we're waiting, is there anyone who'd like to ask some questions that maybe I can answer? By the way, my name is Karen Nicholas. I should probably introduce myself. And I'm an assistant professor here at Boise State in the management department. And I would say my husband was a serial entrepreneur, and I hung in there for the whole ride. I love working in entrepreneurial businesses. I really enjoy pretty well most everything about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs. So at this point in time, while we're waiting for our speakers to join in and answer some questions, is there anyone who wants to ask a question or just comment on why you're here? I see a fair bit of it is because you're going to get course credit, which is awesome. We appreciate that. We'll get you here any way you can. But what's your interest in entrepreneurship? You'll have to put your questions in the chat just with Zoom webinar. That's how it works. Come on, someone. We could probably all get our homework done. My experience, what's the most difficult thing about starting up a business? So that was the question posed. Our last webinar talked about getting from an idea to a business. It was really interesting that one of the women said she had over 100, I think it was EIN numbers, which are employee identification numbers. So you actually have to register with the government to get one of those. She said not all the 100 businesses actually got up and running, but that's how many businesses she thought of starting, which was astounding because I think we've probably started, we might have kept the same business name, but we probably had at least 5 or 10 businesses. So the starting up isn't too bad. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of legalities and figuring that out. Once you get through that process, and by the way, there's many organizations on campus that can help you. If anybody wants more information, let me know on that. Once you get that behind the road, putting up your shingle is really not too bad. The hard part is getting customers. And then the other hard part is once you have customers, how to get the next customers while keeping your existing ones happy. So in my lifetime, we typically had consulting businesses or some kind of service business that required us to not only generate the revenue, i.e. make the money, but also get the next sales. So that was always the fun part. The other fun part is that someone or a group of people would say, oh, this is a great business idea. You should start this. This is awesome. But when it came down to it, was there really enough to sustain an actual business? Would you be able to keep the doors open? Was it worth your time? It all depends how much you feel your time is worth, but was it really worth your time. So that's another big challenging aspect of it. Other questions? I'm going to think about the difficulty of starting a business. For me, it was always ending the business was the hard part. Starting it wasn't too difficult. It was deciding that maybe this isn't the right way to go. How many of you are familiar with business model canvas? I'm assuming most of you are in some form or another. One of the things that the business model canvas wants you to do is go out and talk to customers, prospective customers, people who you think might be your customers, and get their ideas on your business idea. And that is so important. And I come from a high-tech background, and if you think of techies, they don't want to talk with people, like any people, let alone people that they don't know. But understanding what your customers will buy versus what you think they need or what they want is so key. And I don't think that can be stressed enough. The resources we have regarding the legalities paperwork. So I knew that question was going to come up as soon as I mentioned it. So I'm about 2 years here in Boise. I know we have them on campus. I know we have them in Boise, and if that's okay, unless Miranda and Alessandra are super quick, I'm going to defer on getting the specifics until I can make sure that I'm right, because I'm going to throw out some words and they may or may not be right. We'll put up those resources on our Hey Summit page, which is WIE.HeySummit.com. And we'll get those resources, because there's not only resources on what you need to do, but to help you do it. A great way, actually, now that I've bought myself a little bit of time, is the Small Business Association. And we do have an office on campus. It used to be right across the street or across the hall from me, but it has now moved. Hello, Kate. You're on mute.
There we go. I'm here. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Things happen. So thank you very much for showing up. I've just been asking questions from the audience, trying to do my best, but I'm so happy you're here. We're hoping also to have, I want to say Allison, so hopefully she may be able to jump in as well. So at the moment, it's you and me, baby. Thank you very much for coming. One thing I'd like to do, if it's okay, and I'm going to put you on the spot fairly quickly, Kate. Okay. If you could introduce yourself, you'll be much better at it than I will, and just talk about who you are and where you are in your business life right now and what brought you to the interest in this webinar.
Great. I am Kate, and I am a part of Meriwether Cider along with my sister and my parents. We all started this business together almost 5 years ago. We started it because we love Boise, we like the community here, and we feel like alcoholic beverages are a great way to bring people together. So that's kind of our MO. We really want to be an integrated part of the community, and and have fun with it, collaborate with other businesses. So we, I don't know, we've had a great time. Boise is a great place to have a business. I would encourage those who have a genuine interest in business and a certain subject to do the same, for sure. Does that answer your questions? I can.
That's a great start. So I love Meriwether cider. I must admit, I love all ciders, but Meriwether cider is just awesome. So this is really interesting, because I know, just because of my personal interest and my interest in business, I know a little bit about you and your company. So that kind of helps me. Today's session, and I'm looking around because I know I actually have the proper title for our webinar, but really it's all about understanding your market. So You started, you said your business about 5 years ago. And to me, at least for who I am, ciders were just coming into being then. It was fairly new. So what got you and your family into developing the ciders or creating them at that time?
That's a great question. So my parents were professors before they entered into a whole new business. My dad being kind of a serial entrepreneur, he has been making wine and beer just for fun for a long, long time. And so my parents as professors went on a sabbatical to Australia and New Zealand. And there was lots of ciders there. And they thought, my gosh, this is a great beverage. Why don't we have it? You know, they lived in Colorado. It was kind of same climate as here. It was kind of that high desert feel. So, you know, it gets hot in the summertime, and cider is great for that. I mean, it's good all year. But but really good and refreshing for that time of year. So they kind of came back, and my mom had this idea. She kind of started it because she wanted to involve me and my sister in something, and she wanted to give something for my dad to do. He wouldn't be a good retiree. And she knew that. So she thought, like, how can I get my whole family involved in this? How can I give gigs something to do? And it really was just a perfect storm of things. You know, they had kind of the insight to like what other, you know, countries and cultures were doing as far as a beverage and how popular it was. And then to kind of like come back and see, hey, it's not such a big thing here. Maybe we can enter this market and be able to really, you know, kind of be the first cider makers in the Idaho area, which was a cool opportunity, especially because craft beverage was becoming such a huge thing in Boise. And, you know, there's a lot of breweries, there aren't a lot of cideries. So that was definitely an opportunity for all of us to get together on something and make a splash, you know? So
way to go, literally. So what are your parents professors in? I'm just being curious, but there's
my dad was exercise physiology or kinesiology, and my mom was English. So me and my sister were covered all throughout college.
So but nothing to do with beverages or business, or I was thinking of, I don't know, some strange form of biology that would help with the crafting. So none of that, just this was purely a hobby, and then your parents decided to do it. And what about you and did you say your sister? Did I get that right?
Yes, yeah. She's kind of the big business person, yeah.
Okay.
Also, neither of us majored in business either. We just kind of like went for it and see what happens, and it works out. I mean, you learn. Yeah.
So I should probably not be supporting this. I'm joking. I'm a professor of management. We have a ton of entrepreneurship students on the call, but I think this is saying, hopefully the message that's coming across is if you want to do it, go for it.
Well, and to have had a degree or had classes in management or business, we would have had a little less blips along the way. So, you know, it hasn't been a smooth road by any means.
Oh, that's awesome. One thing that I'd like to ask you about, talking about the market, is you, if I'm correct, you opened a store in Meridian first, and then you just opened the one in Boise within the last year or so?
Yeah, we have one in Garden City. So we got our production facility and a little tap room with all of our ciders. And then 2 years ago, we just celebrated our 2-year anniversary downtown Boise. Yeah.
Okay. So it was a significant event in my life. So I just couldn't remember what actually happened, that it opened up down here. So what made you decide to open it up in Boise? What was, if you don't mind, could you just talk a little bit about the thought process that led you to opening up the store?
Absolutely. So, and that's a great question because it really kind of has to do with our whole business model in general. So, there's kind of, to my understanding, 2 ways you can go about a business, at least our type of business. You can produce a lot and do wholesale. So send it, you know, out of state to a whole bunch of different accounts, just get out there as much as possible, you know, quantity, a huge quantity of product to just kind of like get it out to as many people as you can. And that's kind of like Schilling's business model. So they have they have a massive canning line now. They have great cider, but they want it to be everywhere. And I think they're just in the Northwest right now. And then there's the model that we kind of decided to follow, which is more hospitality focused. So we really wanted that connection with our customers and with our community. So we just make enough cider to supply, a few wholesale accounts within the valley, and then our tap rooms. So we like that tap room experience. That's what we want. That's what we want to be branded as Meriwether. That's what we want. We don't really want to just be in a whole bunch of grocery stores all over the place, which is, I mean, I'm glad that people do that because it introduces people to good cider, and that's
to almost really good cider. Then they come to you. And I've tried to tell everybody that comes on this show, plug your business. We are all about small businesses, so let's go. Hopefully most of our audience are over 21. I will.
Yeah.
Must be aware of that.
More to come when you are.
Yes. So, and then what about the Boise store? How did you decide on the timing? Because that means it was about 3 years into the business, then you opened up the Boise location?
Yeah, well, we were fortunate enough to not be losing money at that point. And we thought that if we were going to expand, kind of downtown Boise and Boise in general is growing and getting bigger. And that means, leases and rent are going to get larger, and we can't afford too much small business. We can't afford too much, like there's, places like Buffalo Wild Wings can come in and pay whatever they want them to. But we can't. So it was kind of like now or never type of thing. We thought if we want to continue to grow and we want to do it in a way that we feel like is true to ourselves and our brand, and employ a few more folks, then it was kind of it needed to be then because Boise's getting bigger.
Do you have if we could pretend that COVID wasn't happening, and we'll talk about that because it's hard not to when you're talking about a small business. But what were if the world was normal, what would have been your growth plans going forward? Like how big would you like to be? Because you're talking about the Treasure Valley, the Boise area. Are you thinking of moving out or expanding beyond that?
I'm not. You open one business, and expanding is essentially opening another business, and part of our values is family, and we really want our employees and ourselves to have autonomy. We want to have time off. This business is a balance. It's not just go for it, work 10 hours a day kind of thing. I currently work probably less than 40 because I can do that. We can delegate, I can take time. My sister probably works way more than I do. She's the real business person. But it's about the balance. And I think that there's this concept, this thought process, and especially this country, that to be successful, you have to grow and grow and grow, and you have to make more and more and more, and you have to get more employees, and you have to expand, and you have to do this and that. And we don't want to do that. There are too many fun things to do here in Boise. There are too many things to experience in life.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we, right now our plan is not to expand anymore. Who knows what the future holds, but.
Awesome. I love that message. So I teach a strategy course, and strategy tends to all be about how can we get bigger and better. And it's how can we sustain our current existence, assuming we like our existence. Yeah. It's interesting because you think in one way you could almost call yourself a social entrepreneur, i.e. your business model isn't aimed at fixing a societal issue. However, your workplace attitude is, which is to bring balance to employees and allow them to have a good life and a place of work. And
well, and that in turn, right, serves our customers, and we have a real community of customers. If you're overworked, if you're stressed out, if you're working too much, the amount of care that you can put into those people is not the same. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like I said, our focus is hospitality. That's what we want to provide. So, you know, you can't do that if you are yourself, not taking care of yourself.
Yes, it's true. So because you're a family business, that always leads to the question of, so how does that work?
Yeah.
So my husband and I worked together for years, and it worked. You know, the worst thing about it, for us at least, was that we never got away from it. So we'd be off on vacation, we'd be out on the beach, and we'd go, so what are we going to do about that customer? You didn't have that forced break. But being a little bit more serious, how do you find it works? Do you have, each of you have prescribed roles? Because you talked about being able to have your autonomy, and I assume that meant, well, let me not assume, and let you answer the question. That's probably
yes. So it is, I don't know that all families can have a family business. I think
many can't.
Yes, and I think it's a good thing to realize, you know. I mean, we want to beat ourselves up about a lot of things, but don't, you know, just there are so many opportunities and changes. Like, look at worst case scenario. It's probably not that bad. But yes, I think one of the things that we really struggled with at first was distinguishing our roles and feeling like we were a part of the business and that we weren't stepping on each other's toes, you know, because when you have a family member stepping on your toes, it's a little bit more annoying, I think, because, you know, you're like, why don't you know this? You know, you should know that that's my job. Whereas you're a little more patient with people that aren't of your family, you know, you can't really express yourself that way or else they, you know, quit. So I think that finding our roles was really, really important, and that kind of kept the conflict to a lesser extent, and then being able to communicate when it is something that you don't need help with or that you do need help with, and asking for that. I think we've got our roles pretty well down. We also have a time that only us get together and kind of sort out what we're thinking and stuff like that, so that we don't have to expose our employees to our family dynamic, which they are a lot, you know, but for the most kind of passionate discussions, they're we let them not be a part of that.
How often do you do that? Is that like once a month or twice a year or once a week?
Yeah, we do it once a week. We have a meeting with where we all get together. Yeah, and then actually our employees come and join us after that point. So everybody kind of has a say. You know, everybody's we call it a piece of the pie. Everybody's a piece of the pie. We need all of those pieces in order to make a whole pie. So we need we need everybody's point of view and kind of how we're gonna proceed, how we're gonna grow, how we're gonna deal with a certain situation. You know, this isn't just a business that we work in, it's also a business that our employees work in. So we want it to be, you know, we want it to be as good for everybody as possible. You know, and that's all very flowery speech, you know, and it doesn't always work out that way because it is a business, but we try to include,
If small business top management got together once a week, if all small businesses did that, got together once a week and then discussed things with their employees, regardless of whether it's a family business or not, most of them would run so much smoother. So your ability and willingness to do that is awesome. Yeah, I would seriously give yourselves a pat on the back. By the way, Kate, I'm not sure, I'm keeping an eye on the chat. You are getting total kudos for your messages. So it sounds very sincere and real. And I think if you don't get a lot more customers, you might get a lot more employee applications. So
we'll bring them.
Okay, great. Yeah, here we go. As an employee of a small business, I'm very jealous of the meetings. So yes, and I think small businesses, because things aren't codified, because processes aren't established and rules aren't, in the employee handbook. I think there's a lot more nebulousness. I'm sure there's a better word than that. But there's a lot more things that are just a little bit, employees can be unsure about. So those weekly meetings give them a chance to know what you're thinking and know where the company is going. And as you say, if they get a say in it, that's awesome.
It opens up communication lines too, I
Yeah.
mean, if we're all open to communication, we keep that type of culture and we take seriously what people are saying, that it makes it easier for us to approach one another, if anything is, needs to be communicated. Yeah, it's good. I mean, you
That's
just have to kind of set a time that everybody can make it, that isn't encroaching on people's days off or anything, and just do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Get her done. So
Yeah.
this uh just talking about this in the meetings, I'm just going to segue off a little bit. It's kind of on the road. Um, do you have a target customer? Do you have an idea of who your ideal customer is? And we'll start with that, and then
Yeah.
I've got a whole bunch of follow-ons.
I believe that our demographic is 24 to 35 or something. That's like the what has been studied. So it's kind of that same craft beverage like beer and stuff. It's the same type of group. Expendable income for sure, because cider is not cheap to make and it's not cheap to buy. Um, and yeah, I mean that's it's pretty much mirrors craft beverage, maybe a little more broad, because craft beer I think has a certain kind of like masculinity to it, and cider has a little bit of a feminine edge for
I
whatever
was
reason.
just going to ask you if there
People
was
think
a
it's a girly
gender.
drink. I don't know.
Is
Yeah.
there a gender thing? Do you find it's more women? Like I drink ciders because I like them, but I do find that it doesn't seem quite as gender identified as, I don't know. I think a margarita is a woman's drink.
Yeah, yes. I think it's less so than like a frilly cocktail or whatever. I think we probably get more women than craft beer does. Barbarian's like right next to us though, and that's very like male,
Uh,
So I think that compared to them, definitely we get more ladies. A lot of ladies bringing their partners or husbands or whatever. But I think it's getting more diverse in that way, at least in Boise. And I think that around the world it's different. We're kind of a different ecosystem here.
that
We're a little
is
bit
true.
further behind the kind of trends and fads. So, I mean, in Europe, it's drank the same, cider's drank as much by men as it is by women. And I think it's like 50-50 beer and cider people drink. So we're
Wow.
just a little bit, yeah, we're just with the first ciders out there, like Angry Orchard and very sweet fruit forward stuff. People
Yeah.
kind of like associated with those frilly cocktails, and therefore with women for
Oh,
whatever
that's how
reason.
it works. Okay.
Yeah,
I
but you
was
guys like it too. I know you do.
well, actually, I spent a couple of years in New Zealand, so I think I probably got into the ciders there. And I'm also Canadian, and British Columbia has an amazing selection of ciders,
Oh, they do. Yeah.
much more than other parts of Canada, which to me is weird. Um,
Yeah.
so when I'm going to go down to the micro level, just because we're talking about your customers and your markets, and you obviously have a very good understanding of what's going on. Now you have specific products. That's not the right word. Flavors, blends. Do you call them a product, like what you're brewing today?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we have different. I guess we more often call them flavors, but when we sell them wholesale, yeah, they're different products.
They're different products.
Yeah,
So how do you
different
decide?
markets.
How do you decide which one to make next? And where do you get the information from, or how does that decision go?
It's a great question. So, cider is an agricultural product. So we do
Mhm.
try to do things that are seasonal. Right now we're coming out with a cranberry cider. It's going to be released today. It's my favorite cider. I love this time of year and it's beautiful. So sometimes we go seasonal. Sometimes we go kind of like what the holiday season kind of demands. Like cranberry is obviously associated um, with
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Yeah. So, citrus fruits are ripe in winter, but a lot of times we'll use it other times of the year just because citrus kind of has, at least here, like that kind of like fresh, summery, thirst quenching kind of feeling. But if we were really to be seasonal, we would use citrus fruit in the winter. We use, habaneros in one of our products, and that's not, it's a pineapple habanero that we do. It's a kind of a cult favorite. And we actually released that one in September or October because habaneros ripen so late, and that's a little weird for some people because they think pineapple, they think summer. But so to answer your question, I think that we play it by ear sometimes, but other times, we're getting our products from farms and from that can't ripen the fruit prematurely or
Yes.
or pick the
We want it
ingredient
now.
if it's not there. Yeah. So
Yeah.
sometimes we use dried products and stuff like that, but that's a good inspiration. We also love, we love food and we love flavors. And one of the funnest parts of making a product like cider is that we can really innovate in flavor and try new things and really get creative about it, which is a huge huge thing in our business. And it's also, you get to, your work is trying new cider flavors. I mean, it's not so bad.
We just have a question here. How does the tasting process go? So you are kind of hinting at that. Do you bring in members outside of the family and the company to taste us? Now, I don't know if this person is trying to get into that job. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
But I was wondering how much. I was wondering how whether you take customer feedback, and you've got sales, which I assume really helps you. You can see at the end of the weekend which taps are empty or which flavors are gone. But talk about that whole tasting and deciding what product to go with and where you get your. I'm a data hound. Where you get your data.
Yeah. We have a program, we use Square, and which is, a POS system. So we can see how many, pints of cranberry we sell throughout the month and how fast it goes in comparison with another product. And then we also have something called Ecos, which keeps track of all of our ingredients in our cider and, everything that goes into the cider or helps the cider, or, bottles, how many bottles we have so that we can have everything ready for the next bottling. So that keeps track of kind of the nitty gritty. And then for pints and stuff, Square keeps track of that. So we can see trends and graphs about how many pints we sold and how fast we went through 100 gallons of our Foothills semi-dry compared to our cranberry. So that is helpful, especially because we do so many seasonals. Sometimes sometimes they don't sell very well, and we have so many new ideas and so many different things to try that we might nix that one next year, much to people's chagrin, because there's always some hardcore fans and we have to tell them, no, it's not coming back. So
and what about the testing? What about the testing, the taste testing?
Yeah. So sometimes we just do it ourselves. Like if we're making a batch of something we've already made, we'll kind of open up a bottle from last year and make sure that it's good. Sometimes because, we're using fruit and herbs and stuff from year to year, those flavors change because of, weather patterns or how much water they got. So we'll kind of do that in the back, just between us and whatever employees are around. And then if you want to be a part of a tasting process, we do a lot of experimentation. We do a lot of experimentation with our crew members. It's kind of like a wine club, but it's for cider. You get all kinds of neat stuff. And we have a couple parties a year, and we have our crew members come and taste things that we're experimenting with. So new flavors or ways of fermentation or yeast or whatever. And they come and they can kind of tell us what they like. Sometimes we have like a voting panel, you can mark the ones that were your favorite. And then, we take recommendations from all of our customers. If you have a flavor that you think is awesome, or if you've tried a cider or food even that you thought was great, a great flavor combination, we'd love to hear about that and maybe try to incorporate it in a cider. So it's a pretty long process. It can be a long process, sometimes not, but we usually come up with, several renditions until we've got just the right amount of everything in there. Our cider goes through a lot of pallets before it ends up in that bottle that you're taking home, for sure.
I'm sure it does. Just, you mentioned food. Are you thinking about introducing food, or
You know,
broadening? Because that's kind
yeah.
of, it's not growing more stores, but it's certainly, wow, complicating your business. Sorry, I'm shutting
Yeah.
my mouth.
Yeah. No, we're not. Uh, it is a whole nother business. And we know cider, we don't know food. We love to support food trucks and people that make food and are passionate about that, but we're passionate about cider and we love pairing cider and food. And we have, before COVID times, we had quite a few events where we would do some pairings, because cider, in my opinion, is the best beverage to pair with foods. It's really varied and it has a great flavor profile to be able to really do some interesting combinations. But no, we don't really have room for a kitchen or the, kind of drive to
The
open up another business or
complications
yeah,
that
yeah.
include them.
So many.
So I have another question, and this is, if you don't mind answering, talking about the systems. So you've got, I think it was Ecos and Square. Square is what I think of as the Apple product.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
The point of sale. So that's where we
Right.
do all our payments. Yeah.
Yeah. So how much do you spend on systems like this, monthly or annually? And we're just like I assume Square is a percent or is it transaction based fee?
Transaction-based fee for
Okay.
Square, and it depends on whether or no, hold on. I think it's yeah, I believe with Square it depends. This is a good my sister question because I'm more the hospitality and not so much the technical. But I believe that they charge depending on what card you use. So Mastercard, for instance,
Yes.
will be the highest percentage. A debit card will be the lowest percentage. So it is
Mastercard is taking over from Amex. I thought
Oh, I'm
American
not sure.
Express.
Yeah, Amex might be more. Yep.
Okay. I was just like, wow, I've got to.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing. I'll check into that actually,
Yeah.
because
Well, if you are supporting a small business, use your debit card because those percentages
okay,
really add up. They add up quite a bit.
okay. Now
Yeah.
it's good to know. I for some reason tend not to. What about the ecosystem? Do you know about that? Do you know how that was purchased or?
Yeah, that is a monthly fee, and I'm not sure what it is, but it's pretty steep. It's a really pretty complicated piece of software. I mean,
Okay.
we have several different businesses within our business. We have retail, we have wholesale, and then we have distributor. So we have packaged goods, we have kegs, and making sure that the cider and the ingredients that go into the cider are all accounted for, with waste accounted for, and then into a final product that then goes out the door is, I mean,
Not
just
fun.
a twisted tangle of craziness. So this program is also kind of a twisted tangle of craziness. But it helps a little bit so that you have something to put that information in and generate with a computer instead of, spreadsheets that you've created, or as my dad likes to do, write it down on a piece of paper and then lose that piece of paper. So
They would not like that, right? I assume you've got, if you're distributing, then you've got labeling requirements and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yep, totally. Yeah. Barcodes, labels, I mean, branding, packaging, it's a whole crazy thing. I mean, I had no idea how much went into a label.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a whole thing. You'll learn a lot running a business of things you never thought.
especially for food, it's especially for food, like any,
Oh gosh, yeah.
yeah, it's just.
Yeah. Trying to predict
So,
how much
is
people
it
are eating.
is it your dad who's creating the ciders?
Yeah, he's the cider maker. So he
He's the
gets the
cider
juice.
maker.
He gets the juice and ferments it. And then we come up with ideas for flavors, and he makes a whole bunch of renditions of it until we make something that we all like. And yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. My dad is the only one with analytical sense. So me, my mom, and my sister are more on the creative and social spectrum. And my dad has got thankfully, because none of us would make good cider makers, he's more analytical. So he really has that chemistry background and really likes to measure things and have a process that is kind of more regimented than.
That's what I was looking for, that chemistry background. So I was like, how are you going to do this? I was wondering if, it would be possible that you could hire a cider maker. The challenge with that is that in essence, you're creating your own competition. You're developing your own competition. So for your sake, I'm very happy to hear you've got it in house. So just keep doing it. I think maybe though your parents should have had more children, or
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I don't know. They probably would have all turned out like me and Molly, and then we would have been in trouble.
We've got another question on the logistics. We have some great attendees who are into the logistics. So sorry, Kate. Accounting in the early stages. So it's like now you have this ecosystem which helps you, and I'm sure has all the compliance built in of the thou shalt keep track of this and thou shalt do that. What about the accounting? What happened there in the early stages? Did you hire an accountant? That's what I used to keep the books, but we used to hire like the CPA to make sure that whatever we filed with the government was correct. So
yeah, we do. We have a CPA. He's awesome. He actually worked for us for free for the first year, trying to get our business going, because he's also a fan of cider. So that was lovely and amazing. And his name is Bill. He's with the name keeps changing. I think it's Clay Connect. I don't know. They're great. So we use an accountant. We also use Quickbooks. So that it takes all of the data, and you have to go through every month. And this is another thing my sister does. I'm the lucky one. And my poor mom, do all the bad stuff. Yeah.
I used to do the books for a private pharmacy, like not part of a chain, a privately owned pharmacy. And I could do them in about, probably less than 6 hours in a month. So it's using QuickBooks, just because QuickBooks is so well established. QuickBooks knows what they're doing, and if the books are set up correctly, it's not too bad. So don't feel too bad for your sister.
Okay, cool. It's handy tool. I mean, it's a good thing we live in today's day and age, because it makes it a little less complicated, I think.
Awesome. Have you ever? So we always talk about the positives of things, right? And that's a good thing. But there's also the negatives. So I had a question here. So talking about getting customer feedback, have you ever had customer feedback actually send you in the wrong direction, or you've heard feedback from customers and you've gone, oh yeah, but no? Like, is there things that you've just gone, the customer is always right, as long as they're paying for it, used to be our addendum to that sentence. But.
Yeah. We have a pretty strong set of values that we come back to, and we have a really good group of people who have a lot of common sense. We kind of, we know our product more than anybody. So we kind of know where it's, we have a sense of where it's going to fit in and how fast we can grow, or what kind of, activities we can participate in, whether it be events or, other accounts. We appreciate all feedback, but definitely, the customer isn't seeing what's called the backstage. They don't see everything that goes into it, and maybe how we have a lot of requests for a rhubarb cider, which we have done before. It's wonderful. We got a strawberry rhubarb cider. Rhubarb, unfortunately, is the most difficult thing to juice possible. So the labor that was going into it is incredibly time consuming, and we can't charge enough. Also, sourcing it is a little bit hard, and from year to year, rhubarb can be juicy or not juicy. It's just a complete mess.
I remember rhubarb growing up in our backyard in Ontario, Canada, and it's pretty well diametrically opposed, the temperature, the environmental conditions there. So you'd have to be somewhere wet and
it does like moisture, and we can grow it here, but
it probably isn't the same juicy, thick, like celery, right? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And we would love to make it again, but people request it and we have to kind of be like, we're probably gonna make that again. Maybe we do. We have sometimes, like just a small amount, but yeah, we kind of are aware of our confines, and I think that you have to be aware that you can't just get steamrolled by anybody, really. I mean, your family members, your employees, your customers. You kind of have to, obviously you have to listen and you all have to collaborate on something, but just have a good sense of what you can do and what your time is worth, and for us,
Yes.
me especially, I think my time is worth a lot.
Yes, way to go.
Yeah. So if I'm going to do something, it has to have a equal outcome to the labor put forth.
Now, we're in year 5 now, and I love your conviction. Everybody loves your conviction and your, I'll just go with conviction. I think that word works really well. Let's just go back to the first year. How are you feeling then? Can you put yourself in, did you have that same conviction then? Or was it a little bit more,
Yeah, I think it was more It was, I have a pretty hard time conforming. So trying to find a place within the business, I think for me was definitely the hardest. I think we are all, I think the number one characteristic I can give to my whole family is genuinity. We really know ourselves. We know what we like. And we can really depend on that to be able to propel us forward and be able to do, the right thing. Most of the time, not always, because that's impossible. We're all human, but I think that our faith in the community and our experience with the community, we knew that we would be supported if we if we really did show that genuinity and really let our values and our I guess our convictions shine through. It's yeah. So it was a little bit more difficult, I think, for me just to start a business with my family and keep rolling. There definitely was a lot of nervousness, I think, from especially my mom, who's a little bit of a worrywart on if it was going to work out or not. And it was all her idea, so it would be all her.
You need one of those, though. You need a worrier. I always used to joke with my husband. He had his foot on the gas pedal, and I had my hand on the emergency brake. And I thought, I got to get out of the sun here. I thought we made a good team that way because,
Absolutely.
He knew that somewhere was going, and if things didn't work out, I was prepared to just jam on the brake,
Yeah, okay. Yeah. No, I think you do need a mixture of the two. Me and my sister were kind of raised with the concept that, we can do whatever we want. And so not whatever we want as in like whatever we want, we could do, we could accomplish whatever we wanted to accomplish. So
yes.
I don't think it was as scary for us. And also I don't have to see the books. So I don't have to know how the numbers look, which is really great for confidence.
But I bet you said when you opened the store in Boise, you were pretty well breaking even. So you, I think, have a pretty good idea of what the numbers are, even if you don't. Though, again, referring to my husband and I. Oh, okay.
Every once in a while.
Yeah. I'm sure you probably have a better idea of knowing whether the business is going well or not so well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not down to the last penny. So we have another question. Before you opened your first store, how were you selling products and creating word of mouth? So, I talk a lot with students about what I call the year 0, which is everything you do before you open your doors and sell your product. But did you have more of a gentle introduction? Did you have a year 0, year 0.5, and then finally the ta-da?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. We did a lot of stuff before we opened our doors. So we did a Kickstarter campaign, which is great for marketing. We kind of got the word out there. We went to as many places. We tried to, go into businesses and serve our cider, not knowing what was going on. Probably wasn't super legal, but, sharing it with friends and family, with businesses that we like. We also got a brander right off the bat, so we had a look, that people could start to recognize, and I think that was really important. And he taught us a lot about how you really have to be recognizable. All of your branding has to match your brand, down to the music you play in your place,
Wow.
the way you arrange your bottles. We also, besides doing Kickstarter, we got a little further along, your point, 1.5 or 0.5 or whatever.
0.5, yeah.
Yeah, and we sold bottles at the farmer's market, which was
Awesome.
great thing for us. Yeah, and I think that depending on what your product is or your business is, finding that niche where you're really going to succeed, and that for us was the farmer's market. People with expendable income, a lot of folks in that range of that age range. And really a good way to connect with the community too, because you have all these other little business owners. You have all of the people who want to support those business owners coming straight to your booth. And we had, tastings and stuff like that. So we did the Kickstarter campaign, which was our first kind of like oomph, to get off the ground and really get people to, start seeing us around. And then the farmers market was enough, I think, to kind of get us to feel like, okay, this is a good idea. I think we can open a shop. And then once we opened our tap room, it was pretty slow for a while. It was slow. I remember just sitting in the tap room, kind of like waiting, having the person who was playing the music like playing just to me. And it was just me and my sister working the tap room plus doing everything else. But you just have to go through that discomfort. There's a lot of discomfort, and you have to learn, and you have to kind of expand your creativity and your ideas to get a hold of more people and make it an experience for them so that they come back and kind of start building that community around your business. So yeah.
Just back to the family dynamics, getting your brand. So I've been involved in creating logos a couple times, and so I am not a marketer, and I hate everything about it. Well, no, I love marketing. Like, I love being the recipient of marketing, but for me to decide whether this color or that color, you don't want me to do that. So how did it go with your family? Was that an easy decision for you to come up with a logo or agree on a logo, or was it painful?
It was painful to pick out a name, that's for sure. But okay. We did get, like I said, we got a brander kind of right off the bat. We met him through City Peanut Shop, actually. Dan Belliff, who owns City Peanut Shop, a wonderful business, a wonderful man. Talk about a community advocate. He's just
awesome.
So amazing. So Glenn, our brander, did City Peanut Shop's brand, and introduced us to Glenn, and Glenn thought, yeah, this is a good idea. I'll help you guys out. So he came up with a logo. He came up with, several kind of logos to pick from. And then we, came together and picked one and took just a lot of his advice, and it was incredibly sound. And it helps that, Dan and Glenn are very much like our family. So they know they're passionate about Boise for the same reasons. They, love the outdoors. They love the culture of the place and being active within the community. And so I think that it was just an incredible piece of luck that we picked up somebody that could create art from our kind of our general, I don't know, just beings. He could see us, he could meet us a few times and know how to translate us into look.
That is a talent. That is
awesome. Amazing artist. And he does all that stuff. He picks out the colors and stuff. I do some of the I get the types of swag we're gonna use, way
to go. That's
I'll pick out the types of t-shirts we're going to use, but he comes up with what we're going to put on those t-shirts. So really he's the kind of artistic hand behind Meriwether's look, for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. So another question from our audience. Who do you feel is your biggest competitor, and how do you feel about more ciders entering the market? And I'm changing the question slightly.
Yeah.
I tend to be a big fan of competition. I'm like, yay, the market's getting bigger, assuming the market's getting bigger and just not more crowded. But how do you look at it and your family?
We don't really use the word competition. We use the word collaboration. And I think that we are lucky enough to live in a place and kind of have that collaborative feel. We got warned a lot about competition and about cutthroat business and stuff when we first started our business, and it just has never happened. We have never had somebody try to screw us over. We've always had people trying to lend a helping hand, and we do the same too when we can. So it's businesses getting together. We believe that rising tide floats all boats, is what we say a lot, and I truly believe that's true. With more varieties of cider out there, that'd be great. We have a wonderful little cidery called Stack Rock that's part of Peaceful Belly Farms out in Sunny Slope. They make wonderful cider and have wonderful food too, if anybody needs that food cider experience. And I just think that people trying more cider is going to help all businesses. I mean, there's so many different methods and types of cider out there, and we're passionate about the product. We want people to experience that. I mean, maybe sometime in the future, there'll be some kind of crazy competition. We haven't gotten to that point. And right now we would rather lose business than gain an enemy from the community, because it's just, that's, we thrive so much on getting together with other people and coming up with products, coming up with events, helping each other out. I mean, that is why, in our opinion, you would start a business. If you don't have, that in mind, unless you're just like a super crazy growth kind of business model. If you want to be involved in a certain community, that really needs to be top of your list of things to do. And I think we've worked with some businesses that are from out of town and kind of have that competitive nature. And honestly, in this community, they don't make it very often. You like it, as soon as you kind of sense that they're not, in it for everybody, they don't get as much business, from customers or other businesses. So
there is definitely a wonderful small business culture in Boise. By the way, we just had a panelist hopped off. She left a note though. I drink Meriwether cider exclusively, and it was so cool just to learn about your business model as well. So just, you've got some big fans, and I do love the shameless plugs. So we're going to finish here in a couple of minutes, but if there's anything that you're thinking about that, I've got an audience of quite a few people. If there's anything you want to talk about, employees, sales. And the one thing I was going to end on, while you're thinking of what you'd like to promote, is how has your company dealt with COVID? Are you guys okay? Should we all go out and buy some more today?
Well, that would be great.
Okay.
Yes. We've done all right, though. I think that our culture of collaboration and creativity, we've really kind of expanded the way that we can get cider out there and support one another. So we've done all right, and we were able to get some government aid, as well as
good.
A lot of people ordered, when we were doing deliveries, they ordered delivery, and they still ordered to go. And some folks are starting to trickle into the tap room now, and we just appreciate every single person that comes in our door. And it's because of this community that we are still doing all right. So we're just grateful and appreciative.
How many employees do you have?
Let me count.
Even under 20 or under 50 or?
Yeah, well, we have 6. Plus would be my sister, my dad, and my mom. So I guess 10 in total. Yeah.
Wow.
We just hired another assistant cider maker. But we have a small crew, pretty small, intimate crew. Yeah.
Okay.
They do a lot. They don't just bartend. They do a lot of other stuff too.
Yeah, I'm sure, right? That's the fun part with being an entrepreneur. It's how many hats do you need? I got a question, a note from Miranda. I think maybe I've missed a question up ahead. Miranda, could you hop on and ask it? Because I'm not going to be able to go backwards in the question thing. I'm assuming that was a question for me.
Yeah. So actually it's in the Q&A box on the bottom.
Those ones. It's not in the chat.
Yeah. So one is actually for you, Karen, and then there's two for Kate.
Cool. Let's just, what kind of market analysis do you recommend? That's probably the one for me you're thinking, right? I'll probably, you know what, we'll put that on our website. We'll do a little Q&A and put that on our website. So, Kate, just a couple of questions. We've got you for another 5 or 10 minutes, if that's okay.
Great. Yeah, I was late,
Okay.
so please.
No, that's all right. We won't. This was theoretically planned to finish a quarter after, so we'll go for that. When you first started, how did you know people would like your cider? And we've back to the taste testing, but this is a little bit different because you talk about you tested it within your family, and then did you ever go out? You were talking about going to the businesses. Did you go out to the businesses and sometimes people went, "Oh, I like this one better." Like, were you tracking it quietly behind the glass?
Yeah, we did. We gave away a lot of cider, and had people give us made sure that they gave us honest reviews. We are pretty experienced drinkers, so we knew we had a good product, and we also have the rest of the world to kind of look at, right? Because Europe, Australia, New Zealand, I mean that the Basque Country, which we all know about here in Boise, they're all huge fans of cider, and we kind of we all have different taste palettes and stuff, but a lot of our food kind of derives from European cultures.
Yes.
So I think, we had tried a lot of cider before, and so we knew we had a good product. And also we did really encourage honest communication about whether folks liked it or not, and tried to get it to as many people as possible. Yeah, I think it's always good to get feedback, but then you do have to be completely confident. I think it's very important for me to be completely confident that I have a good product, because again, that genuinity and that honesty, I can't give something something I don't like and be like, hey, look, it's so good. No, I can't. Yeah, I think that.
But there's the word of mouth, I think, especially in a service industry and probably especially in a community like Boise, I think you'd know pretty quickly. I think the attendance, that's not the right word, but the number of people in your shop would drop off.
Yeah, well, and I think a really important thing to add to this is that, other people are going to come up with products that are just as good as yours. That is a given. You're going to have, we have a bunch of breweries here now, and they all have, I'm a fan of, all, like, at least a beer out of all of theirs. There's going to be cideries that have a product that's just as good as ours. I think that the way we distinguish ourselves is that experience people get when they come in, or that experience with our product. So that's the way that you can kind of take your business apart from somebody else's. You can somebody's always going to make a good product. It's just going to happen, or a cheaper product, or whatever. What you have to do is get people to come back to your business. And the way you do that is create an experience for them, and make sure that they have a positive experience with you and your product.
That's awesome. That's really knowing who you are as a business and your business model. And I think that's just great. The other question we have is, how do you attract the right people? And it's got in brackets your tribe. And I'm not sure if it's only employees or just I'm sure you have regulars by now. We live near the North End Pizza. We're definitely regulars. I know it. And that's, I know. What a great place, right? So how do you attract those right people? And if you've ever made changes to make sure you're getting the right audience, and it's like, oh no, we seem to be attracting a different crowd. What can we do to maybe not keep them and make sure we get the ones we want?
Yeah, good question. I think that customer-wise, our place has a feel. It has a certain type of feel, and we try to make it comfortable for as many people as possible. And we're always working on that. And part of what we talk about at our meeting is flow, like how the space is moving, how people are moving throughout the space. Our comfortability and the comfortability of our customers. So if there's something that's not going very smoothly, like let's see, what's an example? I know that my sister went to a restaurant, and the waiters, she went to breakfast, and the waiters had these carafes of coffee that could only fill 1.5 cups. And so they would have to fill 1 cup, fill a half of a cup, and then come back with a whole nother carafe. And it just, that's a good example of bad flow. Yeah.
Yes.
And that, it not only, creates more work for the for the person serving, but also kind of some frustration. So
I want my coffee, especially coffee.
Yeah. So you want people to kind of do what you want them to do without them knowing. If it's taking too much effort, or you're getting the same comment over and over again, you have to be open to that and be able to change what you're doing. So, instead of blaming, people for not doing it right, if you're getting that same comment, it's now your problem. It's your fault in some way. So I think creating flow, creating an open environment where people feel comfortable, and whether that be, communicating with them if they're looking uncomfortable, or, a lot of people like to be greeted when they first come in because they've been acknowledged. That's pretty true of everybody. So just making sure to open up that avenue and let people know that you see them, that you acknowledge them, is really important. And, there's so many things. This is what makes hospitality such an interesting study, because you can learn for the rest of your life and still learn new things. As far as employees, I think referrals are really the way to go. So if you have some great people on your team, or you know somebody that you think would be really great for the job, you directly ask them. You ask them, you don't want to piss off another business owner for stealing their employee, but you want to, we've gotten a hold of people on Facebook, like, hey, we're looking for this job, we think you'd be perfect, would you like to interview?
Oh, wow. Awesome.
And part of, so I mean, and that even, when we're looking for somebody, I even tell my folks, like, if you're at a restaurant and you have a good waiter, like, give them your contact info, let's interview this person. So I think going out there and really experiencing people in action, and then people that also can be vouched for by other people you trust on your team, is really, really important. We get the best people from that. And then also making sure that if you're stealing them from somebody, to make sure that you're asking them, like, do you think, will this is this going to be an amicable split for you? Is this going to cause any bad feelings? And if it is, like, what ways can we reduce those and make sure that we're communicating with this person so that they, aren't mad at us, because we want to get along.
It's a small community, right? So the employee may end up back there or wherever again. Yeah.
Well, and it's tough to get somebody that really fits your business and works for you. So if you were to lose one of those people, that is a pretty tough blow. So I just think referrals. I mean, I've again reached out to people on Facebook and asked if they're interested, because either they're a customer or they're somebody that I know that would really fit what we need.
So we have a plug from our audience, our participants. Come to Cahoots in Meridian. I've been serving there for 3 years, and I'm graduating in December. I think it's Kayla. Kayla, if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, I apologize, Burnside. So anyways, we have people, and I've got a note from, good, I pronounced it correctly. We also have a note from Miranda about internships. Miranda, is that a question or is that a statement? Hop on, Miranda.
I was just wondering, like, are you planning on maybe developing some internships to learn about how the business functions in the future? Have your dad train some awesome cider makers, that kind of thing.
And I'll just to give you some context, Miranda and Alessandra are both MBA students, and a lot of our audience, I don't want to say all, but a lot of our audience are undergraduates in the entrepreneurship program. So you've got a lot of eager beavers.
Yeah. We have not done internships in the past, and we probably in the near future won't, just because we do have such a small team. To try to teach somebody else is kind of a big undertaking. It takes a lot of money and time. My dad is probably going to retire within the next few years, so maybe that would be a good side hustle for him if he wanted to do something like that, teach the young folk. But for right now, that kind of sounds like a whole nother business. And I think that we kind of have a lot of moving parts right now, and throwing another person in that's inexperienced may be too much. So sorry.
It sounds like we could do a sales job with you on the benefits of internship, but we will leave that until the world is in a more normal place.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
We always used to have the joke that the best way to be more busy than you've ever been before is to hire someone to help you, because there is that onboarding
another reason
process.
why hiring is so hard.
No, it's a challenge. However, there are some nice tasks that an intern can do, especially trained interns, where you could say, hey, here's a goal. We want an employee handbook, or we want this Excel spreadsheet with cool pivot tables and all this done, or we want some analysis. So if you can get tasks, it can be very well done. And I think we can make it, I don't want to say this, but I think there are times when you don't have to pay, other than your only time investment of getting it done. So that was my shameless plug. We're right at quarter after. Would you like to finish on anything? Kate, you are fantastic for showing up. It has been such a joy. I've always loved your business, and I love it even more now. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. This has been fun. I think that my shameless plugs are, we do have a crew membership, and it is awesome. It's just essentially it's the cost of the bottles that are in the membership. And then you get a discount on those bottles for being an awesome cider supporter. You also get a free flight a month. So we have so many flavors coming out. We want our crew members to be able to taste them all. So we give you that free flight a month. The reason I was a little late for this meeting is that we have a series called the Neighborhood Series, and this is our collaboration series. So we get together with another small business or organization, and we make an awesome cider by combining kind of our ideas and flavor inspiration together to make wonderful ciders.
Wow.
And I'm just working, it's a really cool program. It's only available in pint, or if you or a special neighborhood series growler that's a really beautiful girl style growler. And we were just working on one with the Basque Museum. A wonderful group of people. We're going to give a portion of our proceeds to them, because we think that they're great, and the culture that the Basque community lends here is so important. And so we're working on a quince and membrillo, which is a type of quince paste cider, and it is delicious, everybody. So in like a month or so, come over and try some. We just did one with Earth Beverage, too, wonderful botanical soda maker, a husband and wife duo that do it all themselves. Just really cool ciders that really get our other small business owners involved in cider making. So
awesome.
Those are
awesome. Good. Hopefully you'll see a bump in crew memberships in the next 24 hours. Fingers crossed. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. I wish we were in person. I could give you a big hug. Really appreciate it. Your joy and your love for this is infectious, and it's so clear. So way to go. That was just awesome. Thank you. Take care. Bye, everyone. Thank you very, very much, all the participants, for hanging in there. And I hope you enjoyed it. I had an awesome blast, so I hope you enjoyed it even half as much as I did. Thank you.